Hey everybody, can you help me with a problem that we have in the business world? There are way too many BS meetings going on in business. And I know people have been away from their coworkers and all that kind of stuff. And look, if you want to get together and chit chat and do a social thing, awesome. Go for it. That's a cool thing to do. But those aren't the meetings I'm talking about. The meetings I'm talking about are when people schedule a meeting and they want to schedule an hour or 2 hours of time associated to a topic. And they're like, look, we just need this much time because we want everybody in the room to speak and all this kind of stuff. Well, number one, you only need certain people in the room when you have a meeting. You don't need your whole company every time you have a meeting. You only need a handful of people who are going to be focused on whatever the topic is. Number two, if you are taking that long to run a meeting, something's broken with the meeting. Maybe you're not sending notes before the meeting or something along those lines, but we need to fix why it's taking that long to run a meeting. So just like with a lot of companies that I've seen out there, one of the most important things you can do before a meeting, send some quick notes around. Hey, here's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. Boom, 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 3, 4, 5 points, whatever it is, so everybody can come prepared to actually discuss what's going on in the meetings. And here's another tip. I don't care what the meeting is. If you are sitting down and saying, you know what, we need an hour for this meeting, first thing you probably need to do is cut that in half. Oh, well, how can we do that? We just cut it in half and make it happen. If you normally would put an hour on the calendar, only put 30 minutes and say, look, we're going to get this done in 30 minutes, just the way it is. I had a friend of mine who was running sales teams come to me a while back and say, hey, Mike, we got a problem with our sales team. They're not productive. Morale's kind of low. This is going on. And so I said, well, talk to me a little bit about how you lead the team and walk through that with me. And so one of the things that they decided to change in the company, because there were some challenges, and they made this change. They thought this was going to improve things. There's a 4-hour sales meeting every Monday. A 4-hour sales meeting. And I'm like, well, how many people show up? He's like, well, it's mandatory. So everybody shows up. And they walk through. I'm like, well, how many people talk in the meeting? He's like, well, some people talk, mostly the director, sales, and this and that. And they go through a little bit of what's going on. I said, look, here's what I want you to do. Make that meeting optional. First thing I want you to do, make it optional. And don't change anything for a month. Next Monday shows up. 0 salespeople show up to the meeting. Not a single salesperson. And imagine that productivity goes up because they're not sitting in a 4-hour meeting talking about how much they suck for 4 hours, right? They get out there, they're doing their sales. Next week, nobody shows up. Next week, nobody shows up. Next week, nobody shows up. The end of the month, no one's come to the sales meeting and sales are up 25%. Imagine that just by cutting out that meeting. Because you gave all of them 4 hours of their life back to go and make some sales. I do that in our business. When people want to meet with me and say, hey, can I get an hour of your time? Like, well, you can sign up for a coaching program if you want an hour of my time. But if you just want to chat with me and learn a little bit about government contract, get a little bit of direction, we'll put a 20, 30-minute calendar invite out there. That's it. That's all you need in order to pick my brain. Because I guarantee you're going to ask me the same 6 or 8 questions everybody asked me, and I'm going to be able to walk through all the things all the pieces of advice I do because I've kind of got it down to a system now. But you don't need an hour. And so in your business, or even externally, when you're looking at meeting with clients, meeting with teaming partners, whatever it may be, where are you setting meetings for an hour or so that you shouldn't? And why do we set a meeting for an hour? We set a meeting for an hour because people get paid by the hour. And it's a natural thing to do. Let's set it for an hour. That gives us enough time to discuss everything we need to. And you just don't need it. Cut those meetings in half. Start doing that. Let me know how it works for you. I'll see you next time.